So hi Vajrasarasi. We were just going to have a little bit of a chat today about the upcoming sangha retreat, March 15 to 22 at Siddhartha, and what people might expect of a typical day on retreat with us.
Okay, so a typical day. Good question. So I think in our tradition, often what we kind of get up and start and have our first meditation about 7 a.m. So it's not 4 a.m. in the morning. And we usually do, yeah, or anyone who's not an early riser. And we usually do a double set. So that means that we do one of the mindfulness of breathing or the metta bhavana. And in between that, we'll have a break. So you can, there's some movement and there's definitely a chance to go to the bathroom if you're worried about sitting for a full double set. And when I say a sit, I mean around 35 to 40 minutes.
Cool, cool.
And then we have breakfast all together.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll have silence overnight. So there'll be periods of silence and then periods of talking. But there'll always be an opportunity to be able to talk to one of the leaders on retreat, which is myself,
Yeah.
or Ratnavyuha, who's
Yeah.
also there on a Monday Sangha night, and Akasha Shri. And then we'll usually have a teaching, so a session together with some reflection time, lunch, and afternoon, sometimes a little bit of free time, sometimes a bit of movement or something a little bit more experiential for that, when you get a little bit sleepy and worn out.
Mhm.
And then and then we kind of have some chores and jobs. So there'll be a bit of a roster around kind of helping with dinner and then coming together again for an evening session, which usually is a devotional practice.
Great.
Um, how
And
does
what
that sound? Any questions about that?
I suppose just what, like in the silence and stuff, if we have silence overnight, and I know sometimes we go till maybe the end of breakfast or the start of the morning session, we often start with little pockets and maybe extend the window a bit. But in the silence, like, am I allowed to look at people? What happens if I'm like really just trying to get someone's attention so that they can pass me the jolly jam from the other end of the table, for instance?
So the silence isn't like when you're at school and it's like, you've been told what to do and you have to do it. It's an invitation. So it's an invitation to kind of let go of all the energy that we put into communicating with other people. And actually, we're turning inwards on our experience and reflecting on that. So, if you tap someone on the shoulder, if you make eye contact, all of those things are fine. If you need, actually, you have a task and you need an answer, you can even ask a question. It's more than an invitation to kind of respect other people's and your own sort of boundaries in terms of your internal process and just seeing what comes up. So we're just meeting this kind of silence with kindness and we are encouraging it because it's a way of sort of expanding our kind of reflection process.
Yeah, that's very beautifully put. Thank you. And in terms of, I know for some people, the thought of sharing rooms and stuff can be a little bit scary. So, like, how many people would there generally be per room?
Ooh, that's a good question. It actually depends on how many people come on the retreat, but I think
Maybe
there
I should
won't be
answer that one
more.
actually, because I think
Yeah, I
it's
was just thinking,
usually,
I don't think you would have more than two people in your room.
no, it's very unusual. We'd usually just have you sharing with one other person. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
if you are really sensitive, it's fine to bring earplugs if you know that that's what you need to go to sleep. And if you're really worried that you're a snorer, then you can just also let us know so that we can kind of talk through and move the rooms around. It's
yeah.
not big bunk beds, so you're not going to be on the top bunk if you're worried about that. There are bunks, but there are enough single level beds around for everyone to be on the bottom
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. And I think actually all the bunks have been removed now. So I don't think there are any.
There you go.
And I think I just, on behalf of the night owls, I'd just like to say that if you're thinking to yourself, or like sometimes you just get really tired when you first arrive on retreat, there's something about letting go of daily life, isn't there, that sort of makes you catch up with yourself. That we're adults. It's like if you cannot crawl out of bed for a 7 a.m. sit, join us for the 8 o'clock one. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
like people can just do what they need to do, can't they? I mean, it really is an invitation to participate in the program, but also just to look after yourself in that too.
Yeah. And I think that's the same when I think about also communicating with the outside world. At Sudarshana the reception is quite poor, and the invitation is to kind of let go of that daily life. Um, and if there's something really urgent, there is a phone that Sudarshana staff can be contacted on. So you don't have to worry if there's an emergency that you're not going to be contactable. There's always a way for people to get hold of you. And again, it's just about we're all adults, we can take care of ourselves. And if there's something that we need to check in on, then we can talk with people at the retreat about how to do that in a way that is going to allow us to kind of continue to be still present as best we can for the whole of the retreat.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for that. Do you want to say something about the theme? Because you and Akasha Shri have really been putting most of the effort into the theme for this particular retreat.
Oh, and Ratnavyuha, um, the three of us have. So the theme is on the three jewels. And I think it's really in connection, I think, with this kind of this central um, going for refuge to the three jewels is kind of a central part of how we practice in the Triratna tradition. And that's what makes us Buddhists. So we are really exploring what it is that why it's so important. Why is the Buddha and this idea not only of this historical figure, but the awakened mind and our own potential? How do we connect with that and why that's so important? Why the truth is so important in terms, especially for some of us who are really kind of wisdom based and truth seekers, and what that means to us and reflections around that, and a little bit more about what is, what are some of those core Buddhist teachings and also this third jewel, so the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, and then the Sangha jewel, that kind of final, sometimes neglected jewel about how spiritual friendship is all of the path and what that friendship really looks like and how friendships kind of develop, how we are in groups and how we are as individuals. And all of it is a way of how we can reflect and actually transform ourselves more and more into something kind of into this potential of an enlightened mind that's kind of bigger and higher values than ourselves.
Sounds fantastic to me, but
Yeah,
I'll be there.
fantastic. It's also going to be intimate. And so there is a real chance of kind of deepening relationships, but asking all of the questions that you really might have with some really experienced practitioners. And I think that's kind of such a valuable experience.
That's a really good point because my next and probably last question was just going to be around actual opportunities to connect on retreat because often that's what so many of us are looking for these days. So maybe like, going on a long silent retreat may not seem that appealing. That's not what this is. So, are there opportunities to kind of connect and make friendships with other people in our sangha?
Yes. Yes, that's the whole point of this week-long retreat is that there's time for us to really kind of settle into being ourselves and connecting with other people. Because that's so important. And actually, it's hard to just build a relationship in a flash of a weekend.
Yeah.
So, a way of just really getting to know others and people for getting to know us. I
Yeah.
think that's something I'm really excited about being able to do is actually get to know people in a deeper, real, authentic sense.
Yeah, going a bit beyond what we often can on a Sangha night, where, there's only so much we can really get out over a cup of tea in a crowded room, isn't there? Whereas when you're sitting around just chopping vegetables with someone after one afternoon, or, you go for a walk or you're just sharing a meal together, you just get much more of a sense of each other and have an opportunity to kind of relax and connect in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, hey, one thing that popped into my mind
Yeah.
is that there are flushing toilets and there are showers. It's not just long drops. There are long drops too. So if you're thinking about kind of cleanliness and I don't know, and facilities, then all of that is there as well. It's basic, but it's all there. So you
Yeah.
don't have to worry that it's going to be a really smelly week. Well, it might be for some, but it doesn't
That
have to be.
that is a very thoughtful point, Vajrasarasi. And just to say that the location is beautiful too, and it has, swimming holes in the rivers nearby, and it's just there's something oh kind of deep in just being on the land there actually, and getting away from the busyness of city life for a while too. Hey, thanks, Vajrasarasi. I love the fact that I called her today to actually assess our needs for a baby changing table, which has been included in the quote for plumbing at the centre, and we've ended up here. So thanks for our random digression, which hopefully will be helpful to anyone thinking about coming on retreat.
So really look forward to seeing you there and get in touch if you have any more questions.
Me too. See ya.